Informative classics. What is going on, guys? So today we are talking about Jack the Ripper, the infamous serial killer from London. Guys, August 31st, 1888, Mary Ann Nichols became the first victim of Jack the Ripper. And after her killing, 4 other women were actually murdered by the serial killer known as Jack the Ripper. The final victim, Mary Kelly, murdered on November 7th, 1892. Now, the History Channel gives this as his last victim. And on that date, when I did some research, right, I came upon an article that I'm showing you from the Roanoke Times, released on February 14th, 1891. And the article says, Jack the Ripper kills another woman in Whitechapel. Now, Whitechapel was an area there in London where a lot of prostitutes frequented. And I'm going to go ahead and read this article to you. So, okay, London, February 13th. Special. Further particulars in regards to the woman who was found dead in Whitechapel district this morning and who is supposed to have been murdered by the fiend known as Jack the Ripper. Show she is about 25 years of age and quite good looking for a woman of her class. She was found lying on her back with her head nearly severed from her body. There was also several wounds on the back of her head, caused, it is thought, by the severe fall she experienced when her assailant knocked her down. The scene of this possible latest of series of Jack the Ripper's crimes is a dark, narrow archway known as Shallow's Garden, and leading from Little Mint Street to Chambers Street. The archway referred to is during the busy hours a well-frequented thoroughfare, especially used by railway employees and stablemen in passing to and from their residences in and about that packed neighborhood to their work on the numerous lines of railroads or in the many stables scattered about that section of the city. At all times of night, there are people awake in the houses and pedestrians passing about and through Shallow's Garden, but no one seems to have heard any cries of an alarming nature during the early hours this morning when the crime was committed. The murdered woman, judging from her appearance, belongs to the abandoned class of females and was fairly well dressed. Though her hair was untidy, her clothes had not been disarranged. The police theory is that the woman was murdered while in a standing position and that the crime was probably the work of Jack the Ripper, and that the murder was frightened away by the approach of some pedestrian before he had time to mutilate the body in the manner already described in the previous crimes attributed to Jack the Ripper. On the other hand, it is known that residents of Whitechapel in particular and of the London in general are prone to give credit to Jack the Ripper for any murder or attempt at murder in Whitechapel where a woman is concerned. The body, after the unusual formalities, were taken with the object of establishing the woman's identity and of finding a clue to the murder had been gone through within the usual stereotyped manner, was taken to the Whitechapel mortuary, where the bloodstains had been cleared away. The police carved a rough cross and walkworks over the spot at Shallow's garden, where the unfortunate woman was found, in order to mark the spot where the crime was perpetuated. There is no definitive clue to the murderer, and no arrests have been made. A railroad employee, it is true, says he saw the murdered woman talking to a man, apparently a foreign seaman, just previous to the time the murder and supposed to have been committed, and the police are now engaged in searching all the vessels lying in the Thames or in the many docks in and about the part of London. The policemen who found the murdered woman must have reached the spot while the murderer was only a few yards away. The victim's lips were still twitching nervously and her eyes still rolling when the officer bent over her, and a moment later sounded his whistle and called for assistance, which must have placed any policeman in the neighborhood on alert. Man, that's just crazy that they never even found the person who did these murders. But this is the first time that a murder was talked about in America by Jack the Ripper in the newspaper. Now, there are other articles about Jack the Ripper in newspapers that came out, but this was the first time a murder was talked about, and it doesn't mention a victim's name. I believe as the stories went on, and as many people told the stories, and as many people talked about the stories, and stories like Sherlock Holmes was created, that's where these victims actually were given their names. But as we see here, they had no victim name for this story. So I figured I'd share this with you guys. I'm always interested in finding different things about this in history. We will catch you guys in the next one. Informative Classics.